Hi, welcome back to a little bit of Calm and Crazy. My name is Jennifer, and today I am so excited to be able to share with you some more Dollar Tree fall DIYs. I am just waiting for the temperatures to cool off, but let me tell you, I am so excited for fall. I'm already burning some fall candles. If you are new to my channel, welcome. I am so glad that you are here. I hope you will take a moment and introduce yourself in the comments below. If you are returning, thank you so much. I am so glad that you are here as well. If you don't know it, I am on Instagram. It's a little bit of Calm and Crazy over there, just like it is here. On Instagram, I love being able to share a little bit more of my personal life, as well as some short little videos that I don't share here with you. I like to share over there. Also, if you haven't hit that subscribe button, but you really do like some budget decor, easy DIYs, that kind of thing, make sure that you hit it because I have a whole lot coming at you, especially with fall quickly approaching. So without any further ado, let's get into today's video. So for my first project, I'm just jazzing up these little velvet pumpkins just a little bit. I love these pumpkins, but I don't love the plastic stem. So I have a stick just for my yard and some wired twine jute from the Dollar Tree. If you can't get it from the Dollar Tree, you can get it on Amazon, and I will leave a link for that. So I'm just pulling out the plastic stem that came with the pumpkin. It does take a little bit of finagling because sometimes it has a little bit of extra glue on it, so you may have to work with it a little bit so that you are being careful not to pull out the fabric, to rip your fabric. I even go in at times and use the scissors to snip at the glue, not the fabric. I'm really careful with that. But once I get that stem pulled out, I just take my twig, stick, whatever you want to call that, and I just push it in and twist it. I don't even hot glue it in because just that pushing and twisting is secure enough. Then using my garden cutters, I cut it at the length that I want. And there you have it, a brand new stem, and I love this so much better. So now I'm taking the wired jute and I'm measuring out the length that I want and using my wire cutters to cut that. And then I just take it around the stem a couple of times. After that, I go in with a pencil in order to create the little curly Q tendrils on the end. Thank you, Megan from Glue Guns and Roses, for teaching me that. And then once I have those all curly cued up, I'm using some Mod Podge because this jute does like to come unraveled on the ends. And so I just take a little bit of Mod Podge on my fingers and twist the twine or the jute around the wire and let that dry, and that takes care of that problem. And then I twist it and place the little tendrils exactly where I want them, and there you have it. I think that this is such a simple and easy fix, but made all the difference on these pumpkins. I love this, and I hope that you do too. Let's move on to our second project. For this, I'm using one of the 12-inch little boards that you can get from Dollar Tree. I have the gathered here, but you could also use the other one. It won't matter because we are covering it in this wood scrapbook paper that I picked up from Hobby Lobby. I always get this on sale for $1. I can't beat the 25 cents. All I'm going to do is I'm taking the scrapbook paper and I'm going to be wrapping it around and covering up the little board sign. I'm wrapping it around the sign in order to kind of get the measurement of the amount of paper that I will need and also the placement of where the paper will go. And once I have that done, I can now go in with scissors and trim off the extra paper that I will not need. And I start off by actually Mod Podging the center section first. So I go in with just a very thin coat of Mod Podge. I get asked questions all the time how to make sure that you're not getting bubbling. First, always make sure that you just have a really thin coat of the Mod Podge, and then I smooth that out. After I've done the center section, I go in and I apply it to one side and I smooth that out, and then I go back to the other side and I do the same thing. Now I need to cover both ends of the cardboard sign. And I just take a little bit of Mod Podge, attach it to the paper, trim off the excess, and then I do that exact same thing on the other side. To make it a little bit of a neater cut, I do go in with my craft knife because the scissors were not quite as clean of a cut as I needed. Now that it is completely covered, it is ready for me to decorate it and embellish it. So to start off with, I have some wooden letters that I get from the Dollar Tree. I keep all my extra letters in a jar because I have a ton of those. And so I'm spelling out the word bless. You would need 2 packages of letters. I am also using some of the wooden pumpkin stickers from the Dollar Tree and some tacky glue. Now I did decide to use a little bit of hot glue in order to glue the 2 pumpkins together. Hot glue doesn't dry flat, so it would give just a little bit more dimension between the 2 pumpkins, and I wanted that. But the tacky glue will dry flat like a regular glue would, but it's just a stronger hold, and that's why I chose to use that on everything else. Plus, it allows me a little bit of time to make sure that all my letters are lined up exactly the way that I want to. Now, I chose not to paint my letters or to do anything with them. I actually like them to be that neutral color, and I like the fact that they're not all the exact same color. That worked for me. It works kind of with some of the neutral coloring that I had going on for my fall. But of course, if you have a different color scheme going on, it would be super easy to paint these letters as well, or to even change it to another word. Of course, I love how this turned out. I just love how neutral it is with just that little pop of color coming in from that one pumpkin. I think it looks great on this tiered tray, but I would love to hear what you think. And let's go ahead and move on to project number 3. For this project, I'm using the Thinking of a Master Plan sign, but what's great is you could use any sign that you want. You're not limited to just this. I'm also using some more scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby, as well as just the burlap that comes from this pumpkin sign from Hello Fall. I used this sign part, the pumpkin part, earlier in a different project, and I pulled the burlap off, and so now I'm using the burlap as well as the little green pumpkin in this project. So to begin with, I am taking my sanding block and I'm sanding off all the glitter that is on the words and getting that removed, and now it is time to add a little thin coat of Mod Podge all over and then placing my paper on top of that. Once it has dried, I decide to go in with this time with a craft knife and cut the paper around. I have also showed you the sandpaper technique that I learned from Megan from Glue Guns and Roses, and I will be using that again in just a moment, but that is also another option if you prefer to do that one as well. Once you have that all set up, now I'm going to be adding my burlap pumpkin. Now don't freak out. The Mod Podge here will sink through the burlap, and that is quite okay because it does dry clear. But I'm just spreading a thin coat all over the back of this and then placing it onto the center of my sign. Once it's onto the center of the sign, then I'm just carefully trying to press it down, making sure that it makes contact with the sign. You can even see that I'm using the handle of the foam brush to help me do that. And then I go in and I actually add a little bit more Mod Podge onto the edges of the burlap pumpkin, as well as even some into the center. And again, once it is all dry, you will not see that milky cast that you see here. So now I'm adding and hot gluing on a raffia bow, and this will give you an idea if this is a look that you like, but you will actually see in just a little bit that I go ahead and I change this out. I decided to give the little pumpkin a little bit of a refresh as well, so adding a thin coat of the Mod Podge here and using a scrap piece of some scrapbook paper that I have from Hobby Lobby. I give this time to set up and dry, and then I go in with my scissors and I do a loose cut. And now I'm showing you this sandpaper technique where you just take the sandpaper and you finish getting the rest of the paper off by sanding first away from the paper, and then you can go around it to finish. This is great for any time that you have some strange edges other than straight edges. It works so well. I love this technique. After that, I decided that I needed to add a little bit of twine around the stem. It only goes around about 3 times, but I think it made all of the difference. And absolutely using hot glue to make sure that that stays nice and secure. And then it needed a little bit more dimension, and so I'm using some apple barrel white paint in order to do that. And I'm drawing in, or painting in, my pumpkin lines here, and I will just randomly go down following those curves where the pumpkin line should be.
And then once I get those in, I decide I probably needed to go around the edges of the pumpkin as well. Once the paint has dried, I do go in with a fine grit sandpaper, a 220, and do a very gentle light sanding just to blend the paint into the paper just the tiniest bit so that I don't have any harsh lines. I go ahead and attach the pumpkin onto the other pumpkin, and this is when I realize I don't really think I like the raffia bow, and I want to see what I would think of a twine bow instead. So you can see here that I wrap the twine around my head about 6 times, and then I take a smaller piece of twine and I tie a knot around the center of those loops that I tied around my hand. And then I cut off the excess of that part. I always like to wiggle my tails down into place so that I can see where they are, and trying to make sure that I'm gonna like this bow before I yank off this raffia bow. But once I can see I do think I'm gonna like it better, I go ahead and remove the raffia bow, and then I hot glue the jute bow down, twine bow, whichever way you call this. And I like this so much better. I love how this turned out. Love the pumpkins that this came off of, and I like the other projects that I've created with those pumpkins as well. I hope you've checked out those videos. If not, I will have a complete fall playlist for you down below so that you can check out all of my fall decor that I have created so far. As always, I always like to know which of these is your favorite. I know that we have some super simple, but simple is what I like. But let me know that in the comments below. I hope you'll consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye!